And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, yeah.
Attention to roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern time. Of course, it's Wednesday morning. The finest Unfiltered. It's hump day. Let's get over the hump of the week, but topics we got to discuss. So here we go. Let's talk about flock cameras. Is it a public safety technology tool, or is it just more mass surveillance on American life? So I think flock cameras have a lot of benefit to it, but also we have to be able to limit its capability because it starts to infringe, in my opinion, and I'm sure many others, on civil liberties. So while it may be great, and not just for policing, a lot of HOAs, gated communities are looking to use flock cameras or are using it, businesses. So the question is, is it a good tool for policing, which in many ways it is, or are Americans getting too used to more surveillance and its capabilities? So let's get into this topic. I think it's quite interesting. If you haven't really discussed flock cameras too much and excuse me, not informed yet, I think this is a good opportunity. So John Marlins, good morning. Let's jump into it. John, what are your thoughts on flock cameras?
Yeah, what's going on, people? Happy Wednesday. I think it's a important topic. I think it's I find it weird why it's kicking up now because they've been around a long time. So I guess maybe the public just wasn't informed about them. They were around even pre-COVID, I get the onus on flock cameras versus LPRs. We've been using LPRs a long time in the NYPD, license plate readers. Literally just tag your license plate and it'll tag where you are, where those either stationary license plate readers are. Some of our vehicles are equipped with license plate readers as well. It's just constantly running a license plate, right? And so, what happens is any violations or any warrants, anything like that could pop in that area. If we wanted to do a history on where you were or where your vehicle traveled, I don't want to say where you were at that time, where your vehicle traveled during that time, we could always do a search back and you would see wherever that license plate pinged. And I think a lot of people were even furious about the license plate readers. Like, well, what are you doing running my license plate? And, the argument with that is, well, driving's a privilege. Your license plate is public property. You're on public roadways. But I think the flock camera is significantly different from that. And I understand civil liberty groups being upset about it because I'm the same guy. I don't want to trade freedom for safety. I'll always hang on to that Benjamin Franklin quote. Those who would trade essential liberty for temporary safety deserve neither. And I think it's a true statement because you really are just pushing for a master. You're pushing for a totalitarian state. And when you look at the flock cameras, their capabilities are wild. Facial recognition. They actually store your data. There's over 100,000 of them across the nation as it is. A lot of it's used in private business. A lot of it's used by government. And not only does it store your facial data, your license plate data, but it's connected to other things. And so it's connected to other databases, and it could basically build an entire profile on you that's stored by both government and private organizations. And I think, this is going to be an ongoing debate in this country, especially now. We're at a point now where the technology we're developing we're going backwards. We're implementing technology, and then we're saying, wait a minute. How do you have my own private thing? How could you do this? How could you track me all over the place? How could you track my data? And I know a lot of proponents of it in law enforcement are saying, well, we're able to solve crimes much easier like this. And it's like, okay, well, guess what? We have a constitution in the United States, and no technology should go above that law because that is the law of the land. So pretty interesting conversation today. So I'm excited to get into it. What's up, Mark?
Yo. Morning, fellas. Morning, chat. Morning, Chronicles. Morning, IMP Franco, Detective Nolan. Good morning. KBN NYC, Joe Roscoe, Dog Mom 7. Who we got in here else? Yeah, Joe Mago. Good morning, guys. Yeah, quite an interesting chat we have, conversation we have this morning. There's like John said, there a lot of this technology existed years ago, but I think it's matured to a point now where it's going to get brought up a lot. This isn't today we're talking about flock cameras, but we're going to be talking about other aspects of surveillance. We're going to touch on it, and these conversations are going to come up again. Okay, because as we've said months ago, even over a year ago, when we started talking about all of this, the reason why is because the general uh audience and a lot of people in the low information bubble are going to be talking about this in the coming months, because it's going to dominate headlines, and because surveillance is becoming so pervasive that even people who generally don't care about their privacy are going to now care about it, because it invades even inside of your home. So yeah, we got an interesting conversation today, and yeah, I'm ready to get going on it. Morning, Eric.
Good morning, brother. So I think it's important, right? To talk about being informed. So someone here said in the comments, I think it's might have been KB. Talk about what's the difference between Flock versus LPR. So Flock is a brand. So let's understand Flock is actually a brand of license plate recognition. So license plate recognition is the actual umbrella category for it. Now, Flock itself is an ALPR, which is automatic license plate recognition. So the umbrella is license plate recognition, and Flock is automated license plate recognition. So an actual plate doesn't have to be punched in. It automatically will scan the plate. So what Marlon's talking about, I think, is really interesting is surveillance. And are Americans getting used to surveillance? Because at some point, where are we starting to really cross the threshold of our constitutional rights? And I think John said it perfectly, based on Benjamin Franklin, is where are you willing to give up your safety to sacrifice your civil liberties? And once you start to sacrifice your civil liberties, do you still have a democracy? Do you still have a constitution? And that's where it's really getting scary. And I think Marlon's absolutely right. So if we don't start to question flock cameras and how far they'll move with it, what's next? What's next on the table? And ultimately, could there be something out there that's just an automatic body scanner where they start to scan your body and see that, oh wow, you have a scan your body, come out with a new type of technology, you have a cold, and that you're required to go to the doctor within 7 days and get a shot. Oh, you're saying it's not possible? No, that would never be possible. Can we go back to 2020? Can we go back to 2021 where we had the vaccine mandate for New York City agencies for the military, that you had a 7-day choice if you wanted to get a vaccine or not to keep your employment? So could they come out with an automatic body reader, and they go around you, walking around you every day, and it scans you, and it comes up, you have a cold, you have some type of condition, and if you don't go to the doctor, you're going to go to an encampment. Sounds crazy, right? But that could happen. And that's why it's so important that we start to protect our civil liberties. And that's why I think it's really interesting to go back to the Patriot Act. And I think we see the progression from the Patriot Act, right? I think we can all agree, John, Marlon, even myself, I think, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I would say probably every one of us was for the Patriot Act. Especially after 9/11, I can't imagine anyone being against the Patriot Act. But looking back, if we knew what would happen now, would we have the same kind of tempo or support for the Patriot Act? John, what are your thoughts on that, Marlon? Because, I mean, looking back, I don't know if I would be as supportive of the Patriot Act if I knew in 2026 we would have this type of technology, or thinking that, hey, that maybe one day they'll actually start scanning your body and if you have a cold and you don't go to the doctor, that they may force you or something like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, post 9/11, scary time, right? Scary time. Young and dumb. I remember saying, why do I care if the government listens to my phone? I'm not a terrorist. Right? And then, about 20 years later, I became a domestic terrorist because I was telling the truth and my government was lying. Pre 9/11, if you would have told me the government lies to you, I would have laughed in your face. My father, served 2 tours in Vietnam, combat veteran, permanently disabled from his time in war. I'm sure he would tell you a different thing about the government, about how they treat you, about what they tell you, about how they lie to you. But he wasn't good at articulating himself. He had a very bad PTSD. Great guy, but I think that generation was a little bit more skeptical because they saw a lot more. And at the time, 9/11, yeah, I was all for the Patriot Act. And now thinking back, I'm like, man, that was a really bad move. And, I saw that same type of just, yes, protect me, Big Daddy. Yes, Daddy, take my freedom. I saw that again during COVID. And I'm like, whoa, this is super scary, man. Like, all of this stuff's lies. And I'm being shut out from the world. I'm being shut out from my career. I'm being shut out from my city, from my church, from my community. Because I'm, one of the few that are brave enough to tell the truth about what's happening here and what they're telling us. And I just think, so when I look at all this stuff now, I'm like, it really, I start to say, like, we're at a point now where we know now that the government lies to us. We know that there were plenty of times, not just COVID, a lot of things prior to COVID and a lot of things after COVID, where we don't have straight answers to. We just don't. And the other thing that we've seen, and it's happened to me and you, Eric, specifically, is we've seen police departments really turn into criminals. We've seen them turn into Nazis, come after you because they don't like your freedom of speech. They don't like what you're saying. These flock cameras have been misused. Is that a knock on the product? No. Is it a knock on law enforcement? Yeah, but it just shows you it just shows you all of the things where giving government or even private entities or anyone for that matter access to your private information, your private life when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. It's wild. It's wild to think. And, as like a fan of technology and somebody that likes technology, if we were sitting here making a product, I would make that product as strong as I can make it. I would make it as awesome as I can make it. I would make it with as many tools as I can make it. But I think that it's incumbent upon elected officials and it's incumbent on law enforcement agencies and even companies that they are acting within the guidelines when taking advantage of technology that is put in place. So maybe tracking everyone's movement all day long is okay in a prison system, but it's probably not okay in a city. It's probably not okay in a neighborhood. And it's, I'm going to say probably, it's definitely not okay. It's definitely not okay, and we're just at this like precipice in society where it's getting wild, man. Even Chronicles is talking about it here, where he says researchers found that ordinary Wi-Fi routers could quietly identify people with nearly 100% accuracy, potentially turning everyday wireless networks into invisible surveillance systems. So what we're creating today, the technology in industry, in conjunction with politicians, in conjunction with law enforcement agencies, they are creating George Orwell's 1984. They're creating a surveillance. And it's incumbent on us as citizens to not only be informed, but to ensure that our government, our law enforcement agencies, and private businesses are acting within the guidelines of the founding of this nation, the laws of this nation, and the Constitution of the United States of America. And I often say it, that we're a dumbed down population. We're the weakest generation. But we have a lot more information at our fingertips today, and it could substantially change if people get involved. And I think, I support technology, but I also support constitutional constraints on that same technology. You want to put Flock against our enemies in a war zone? I'm all for it. You want to put it in a prison? Okay. You want to Flock trace and keep data on people who are out on parole? Awesome. Awesome. You want to do it to my daughter for absolutely no reason? You want to do it to me for absolutely no reason? You want to do it to the lady across the street for absolutely no reason? Tell me how that doesn't infringe on our civil liberties. Tell me how that hasn't progressed past the Constitution. And then we're gonna show you video after video of times this data that was given was misused, because obviously, like we said, AI is biased. If today I just decide I'm going to go to this park that I've never been to, and I'm going to start metal detecting at this park, completely out of character for me, right? I'm super busy. I'm running all over the place. If you put a tracker on me, you'd be like, wow, this guy's out of his mind. This guy's out of his mind. He's here, he's there, he's here, he's there. He does these certain things during the day, but everything else, he's all over the place. This guy drives more than I ever seen anybody, right? And so, but if for some day I just decide, for the next week, I'm going to go map out this park, and I'm going to sit in this park, and I'm going to write my book, and I'm going to metal detect completely out of my character. Systems like Flock, in conjunction with AI, will now in my profile will be like, wait a minute, John's acting weird outside of his profile. Oh, wow. And guess what? There were crimes in that area right when John decided to go there for the week. Oh, it must be John. And we've had people be arrested just based on this data. So, I mean, it's really scary, dude. So I'm, as we go through, I'll show you more and more videos, but it's wild where we've gotten with technology. And just to double down on what Chronicles was saying, like, I personally think if we allow it to happen, your entire life from start to finish, including going to the bathroom and being in the bedroom, will have the potential to be accessed by private corporations, law enforcement, and government. And if you're okay with that, you're obviously not an American.
Yeah, yeah. A lot to be said there. What Chronicles, we'll talk about this as we go on, but what Chronicles is alluding to is an article that, kind of just came out, that Comcast is now activating a feature on their Wi-Fi, which allows you to use the Wi-Fi as a security system. So essentially, the Wi-Fi acts as radar and is picking up everything you do inside the house. And then the AI is decoding that and can then turn that into a facsimile image of what exactly you're doing in the house. So think of it as a radar that's now being turned into video, right? And you all have that surveillance device in your house, and it's called Wi-Fi, right? So we're headed into a really bizarre science fiction dystopia. This is why we've been talking about this technology for so long, because at some point we were going to get to this major conversation that the entire country is going to have over, and that moment is quickly approaching. And keep in mind, I was in John's same boat around 9/11. I didn't agree with the war, but I didn't really think much of the Patriot Act. I wasn't. I was young, young, stupid, and not concerned with these things. But the truth is, we should have all been concerned with it. How much rights we're sacrificing for the illusion of safety. Because interestingly enough, even with the Patriot Act, we still get terrorist attacks in this country. So, how many times do you hear that this guy was on the FBI's radar or on law enforcement's radar, and yet these incidents still happen. So what did we give up exactly? Yeah. But yeah, flock, you see that I someone in the chat mentioned that how we have LPR data readers, cameras that read your plate. And I'm going to say that we do, but flock cameras are on a whole new level. And the technology that's going to be integrated with flock cameras is on a whole new level. You're really looking at version 1 of the technology, right? The next version of it will include other trackers in it that'll pick up the ID numbers of your digital devices, and it will match those ID numbers with you as you are in public. So the flock cameras will not only pick up license plates, but they'll pick up you. And I don't know if you guys have seen images of the cameras in China, but in China, those cameras, when they pick you up in public, they all have an ID number above you as you're walking around. Now our cameras will have that technology, but your ID numbers will all be tied to every electronic device that corresponds with you. Like your phone, for instance, has a radio ID number. It has a Bluetooth ID number. It has a cell phone ID number, and all these ID numbers will be linked to you in public. So not only is the camera capturing your movements in public, but it's linking you to all these devices so that other trackers can pick when they pick up those ID numbers, they'll know it's you. So when you go home and your Wi-Fi will know it's you because it's all those other ID numbers are connected. So it's the next level of surveillance, and it's very pervasive. And as I said before, this is a conversation that has to be had because it's not only those private companies that are going to have access to you, but it's the government. And we've seen that government can no longer be trusted fully with that responsibility as, as was the case during the scamdemic. They proved that how irresponsible they are and how unconcerned they are with constitutional rights. So this conversation must be had.
Yeah, I mentioned the Patriot Act because I think the Patriot Act is where we could really see the tension build between security and civil liberty. And I think that, post 9/11, I think the entire country is probably the most unifying pinnacle moment in history we've had that I could think of, at least in our lifetimes, other than Pearl Harbor, where the whole country was unified. And I think also it was a time of desperation where I don't think people gave it much thought. And obviously they couldn't foreshadow the future and see how much technology and how advanced we'd be 25 years later. Because I support the Patriot Act too, as I said earlier. I didn't foresee the future being so intrusive on our privacy. And I was like, like most Americans, I served in the Marine Corps and patriotic, and I thought that, this is the most impervious government there is. And even though knowing what the different CIA scandals have been throughout history, and I read history, I just didn't think our government would cross any boundaries. We know other governments do it, but I didn't think this government would do it. And I think ultimately it was a time of desperation where people just wanted to protect this country from terrorism. No one wanted another 9/11 attack, something that catastrophic and severe. And I think we were all susceptible, and we were all championing it, including myself. Like, yeah, let's do it. But thinking about it now, we don't know what boundaries they'll supersede. And I think it's ultimately something we should all think about, because both of you guys have just made fantastic points. John, you said something I think is really important also. I think ultimately, when it comes to surveillance, like anything else, shows patterns, right? And patterns can show predictability and create almost like a profile. So let's say, for instance, the flock camera. Let's say you're at an HOA in a community, rhetorically speaking, and every day Marlon comes home at 6 p.m. And every day at 6 p.m., Marlon parks his car at a specific spot. But one day Marlon parks in a completely different spot, and he gets home at a different time. could he now be deemed as potentially emotionally disturbed? Like, why is Marlon stepping out of his routine? And I think that's ultimately that's the problem with surveillance, is it creates patterns, predictability, and expectations. And I mean, one of the many things we should be concerned about. But I think that's also, to me, that's a concern, because could they say, you know what? Same thing with John. Well, John parks his car in the driveway every day. He backs it in, and he backs it in, 5 feet from his home, and he's home at 3:45 p.m. But now all of a sudden he's getting home at 2:30, and he doesn't back it in. Something wrong with John? Do we need to send someone to John's house and talk to him and find out if he's emotionally disturbed? Obviously, this is rhetorical, but that's ultimately the problem with surveillance, is it creates patterns, predictability, and expectations. And if you don't fit those patterns, could you be questioned? And this is scary, right? We should live a life that ultimately we have the least amount of intrusion from the government. And we're getting to a point where we have more intrusion than what's needed. And it's ultimately, it should be scary for all of us. I mean, how much information are you willing to give up for yourselves? I know a lot of people have the ideology, well, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. I don't know if that's true. If you don't know, okay, what information they have, and you're thinking, what do I care? Like, what are they going to do with it? Well, you never know. If it comes time for another scandemic, and now they go back and start to track, well, this guy is always home at this time, this is what he does. We need to make sure that he's vaccinated. We need to make sure they're in compliance. I think everyone should be aware of this right now. I think it should be a concern. Too much technology. We're really crossing over to a realm. And I think it's pretty impressive that our forefathers, at the young age that they were, foreshadowed this kind of ability that a democracy could transform into a republic. And that's what we don't want. John, what do you think about it? I think that's a good point on the profile, man. That's pretty scary that, a profile could be built for you just on your pattern predictability.
Start from birth to death under constant surveillance, an entire profile built around you. I remember what the NYPD told me. If I took an aspirin, I could never refuse another piece of medicine. So how far? Well, you don't drive home at 3 o'clock, John. You drive home at 5 o'clock. And it's like, yeah, well, I didn't feel like driving home at 5 o'clock that day. I felt like going for a ride down the block and breathing down the fresh beach air. Or, I decided, my wife's got a period and I want to go sit at the beach for 2 hours before I go home. Whatever I decided to do, it's none of your damn business. What am I being questioned about? And so, I had up on the screen, like those little stick figures that was showing, the Wi-Fi in someone's home. And, Marlon had said basically that they could, think about that. They could use that and you put an AI overlay it. And actually, it's like having a camera actually in your home, because they know everything in your home. They know your exact movements. So they have everything scaled out. So they see when you and your wife are having sex. They see when you go into the bathroom. Who would want this? And I personally think when I think about the forefathers, I do think they were very intelligent. I do. And I'm not trying to diminish them in any way. But I also think there was divine intervention on their part too. I think that they were getting from a higher power, somebody speaking through them, honestly. And I believe it was like the hand of God was placed on them, because they were seeing hundreds of years into the future. And they knew where governments would go, and not a lot of people have that foresight. I think today we really don't have that foresight. We're not forward thinking. We're all in the now. Companies are in the now, in the moment. Governments are in the now, in the moment. What are the benefits now? We're all being sold. What are the benefits now versus what's the effects in the future? How many people? No, I didn't want to take the shot, but I wanted to go to vacation. So you wanted to go to vacation, so you put a potentially harmful product in your body? Nah, you know what it is, Mo? I like to go to restaurants, Mo. So I can't not go to the restaurant. So I got to get the card, And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so you potentially shortened your life because you want to go to a restaurant in New York City. Okay, you don't see any issue with, you're perfectly fine with the government trampling all of your rights then and living in a dystopia future. Yeah, Mo, I got to get my Sunday sauce, So That like, and that's the mentality that we're at today. You know, I can't leave the career mode because I got my 2%. You know, I'm about to get raised. I didn't hit top pay yet. Bro, they're gonna let me stay till I'm 65. I'm 62. I could stay another 3 years if I take this now, Mo. Come on. You know, and that's where we're at in society. We're like really this dumbed down version. We have all this technology, we have all of this information at our fingertips. Literally at our fingertips. What information did the forefathers have at their fingertips? They had nothing. They knew where they came from. They knew why they left. They knew where they were and why they were there. That was all they knew. They couldn't go into Chat GPT and say, oh, how do I fix this? And how do I do that? And how do I do this? They couldn't have any of that. We have it all. We have history at our grasp. Like, it's all here. You could read historical books. You could read books on how to build things. You could literally do anything. It is literally at our fingertips. And we're like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but what about now, Mo? There's people like breaking into houses. Like maybe we could save a couple of people. You know, like maybe we could stop a few burglaries. And the thing is, like, when I think of government and the government's ability to protect us, one, I think how incompetent the government is. Right? I think that corporations do a much better job at running systems, but their goal is profit motive. They're not a public good. They have a profit-driven motive, right? So they will continue to move towards that profit, whatever that does to civil liberties, to worker rights, it doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, the bottom line is the bottom line. We want to cut costs, we want to make more money, and we want to sell more product. Whatever we have to do to get there, we're going to start to get in that frenzy to get there. Same way the police department wants to tell you crime is down, Mo, crime is down, Mo. That company wants to tell you sales are up. So when you look at that, you got to look at, well, do I trust the government to keep me safe? Do I trust that these systems won't be misused by both private organizations and by government? And if you do, I'm sorry, you don't know history. You don't have a grasp on reality. Because, I mean, you could just look at the simplest thing there is, prison. You have no rights. Your constitutional freedoms are taken from you. You are trapped within four walls. And the government has proven they have the inability to keep you safe there. They can't stop you from getting raped. They can't stop you from killing yourself. They can't stop you from getting drugs in there, using drugs in there, partaking in gang activity. They can't stop you from doing any of it. And yet, we have people out here who are like, no, it's okay. You could put me in that prison system because you're doing such a great job. You could build that invisible prison out here on my life. And I don't think that you'll misuse that. And I think that you'll be able to handle that competently. And I'm sitting there and saying, well, you want to know why politicians fail and why their appointed officials fail? Because they're highly incompetent. They don't understand what they're doing. And if you need any proof of that, just look at Rikers Island. Look how it's run. The people in charge of a lot of things are idiots. It's our job as citizens, as people on the outside, to ensure that they don't push tyranny down on us. And so I think that's where we're at right now. And we'll show you all the misuse. Like I said, I'll show you on the next go around. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of things why this goes bad, and why, like I said, I have no issue with technology at all. I don't even have an issue with Flock at all. I don't have an issue with Planeteer at all. I have an issue with the government and law enforcement not putting constraints on them. I have an issue with government and law enforcement not saying, hold on, we're not implementing that, and you don't have the right to that data. That's what I have a problem. I don't care about any of these brands. I'll invest in Flock right now. I've invested in companies very similar to Flock. I'm invested into Palantir. I'm invested into a lot of these companies because I think that they do have good uses, and I think there are systems in place that they could be used for. Do I want them to? Do I want a dystopian future for myself, my children, and the following generations? Absolutely not. There needs to be constraints on any technology we put in place.
Yeah. 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 Quick housekeeping before we go on. Let me put this on screen for you guys. So just so you know, flock cameras are they're a product of seed funding from Peter Thiel as well. Okay, Peter Thiel's Founders Fund invested a couple hundred millions into it. So Flock is, even though it's not explicitly said there's a connection between them and Palantir, you can, if you look long term, you can see that one could potentially come. And in addition to flock cameras, we just talked about Comcast, right? Well, Comcast has a partnership with a company called Databricks, which is also another Peter Thiel investment. Okay, and just like Palantir, Databricks also comes out of DARPA. Initially, it comes out of DARPA and the military-industrial complex. Okay, but Comcast has a partnership with Databricks, and Databricks is a partner of Palantir. Okay, so as I talked about earlier, with what goes on in your house and is seen by Wi-Fi, that information gets sent to Databricks. Databricks ID, their AI, turns that data into an image, i- into an image, and you can see a future where that if they see anything that they don't like or they think that may be alarming, that information goes to Palantir, and that from Palantir, it heads to many different law enforcement agencies which use Palantir. And also Palantir is it's kind of underpinning the Department of Homeland Security right now. So just so you're aware of, again, how pervasive this surveillance state is becoming, right? So and how close we're getting to this Minority Report future where and this has been talked about before. In particular, the FBI has said they're looking into pre-crime, behavior. They refer to it as behavioral patterns that you know they can trace, that they could identify, that can catch you before you've actually gone into implementing whatever you planned, right? So, John mentioned about corporations now. Keep in mind that this guy, Curtis Yarvin, is Peter Thiel's. Uh, he's one of the brains behind Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel listens to a lot of him, and Curtis Yarvin believes that basically government should be run by corporations, and the president should actually be CEO of America, essentially. And basically, corporations should be running different aspects of our government. And you can see in implementation of things like Doge and how Doge replaced a lot of workers with AI, how we're getting very close to this, right? So again, there's a conversation to be had here about how much of this surveillance we should allow into our lives. And I'm not sure where the conversation is going to end because almost everything you use today has some ID in it. Think of it. They want to put IDs, radio IDs and Wi-Fi IDs in your fridge. They want to put it in your head. Your headphones have those IDs in it now. Yeah, I mean, they want to put a chip inside everything. And where does the information from that chip go? Well, it goes back to private companies, and if private companies have access to the data, then who's going to eventually have access to that data? Well, the government will. Okay, so there's a conversation that yes, Jack Greco in the comments mentions IoT devices. That's Internet of Things devices, and keep in mind, Jack, that Klaus Schmidt of the World Economic Forum has talked about the Internet of Bodies. So the next phase is on body tracking, using those chips. So the point is that this surveillance is getting very pervasive, and there needs to be a conversation asked about how much we want to allow into our lives. I saw a comment earlier also from uh, EMJE 272 who said that your cell phone is tracking more info, including what you're saying, than any flock camera, which is true, EM. But keep in mind, none of us knew when we initially got a smartphone that all this data would be tracked. Okay, none of us knew that. And additionally, when you don't have to use a smartphone, okay, you don't. But when you do, you're kind of co-signing on at least some level of surveillance on you. Did you have any part of that conversation for things like flock cameras and the abundance of cameras that New York City in particular wants to flood the city with? Because we already have red light cameras, we have traffic cameras, we have meaning speed cameras. They want to put cameras on street signs, on parking meters, on sanitation trucks, on the buses. Were you a part of any of those conversations? Because that, again, all that data is going to be sent to servers on the back end and and you're going to be given an ID. So not only will government be able to track what you did in your house, but as soon as you walk out the door, there's going to be some surveillance device tracking your movements in all of society, in all of the city.
That's a lot to unpack. I mean, it really is. You know what's interesting to me, and what you said, Marlon, that everything requires an ID at this point, or pretty much like a fingerprint, a footprint, or a stamp. And I agree. What's interesting is everything requires an ID, right? Except voting polls. It's so interesting, right? Everything, they want to know exactly who is there, who's doing what time, and actual identification, fingerprint, or a footprint, except voting polls. Isn't it interesting? We don't want IDs, footprints, fingerprints, or any type of stamps at voting polls. I think that's quite interesting. If any place should have a flock camera, it should be a voting poll to ensure that the voting system is held with integrity and kept safe. But we can see how interesting is that everything has to have some form of a stamp or fingerprint, a footprint, or an ID, but not a voting poll. Think about that. You can vote in New York City without ID. How interesting. But yet everything else you need ID. Now I'm not opposed to flock cameras. I think investigative purposes, it's a great tool. You want to investigate a robbery, a burglary, homicide, it could be a really good investigative tool. But my fear, and I think that many people should worry about, is just for no legitimate reason tracking Americans on their movement. Like, for instance, those radical guys on the Finest Unfiltered, what if they want to track every movement that they make? You know, let's track the movements that Eric, John, and Marlon make because they say things that we don't like. So we're going to track their movement. We're going to track the cars of John, Eric, and Marlon. We're going to track the family members. We're going to track everything that they do because those guys, you know, they could be white supremacists because they talk about police work and they talk about DEI. So we need to manage and monitor everything that they do. So it's interesting because technology, while it's an amazing tool, it can be weaponized and can be something that crosses boundaries. Like, you know, like most things. Cars are a great tool, right? It's fantastic. Takes you from point A to point B, travel, but you can also use that car as a weapon. And the same thing goes when it comes to these investigative tools. And I do think it's really interesting going back to our forefathers. I think they were brilliant. I don't know if it was divine, could be divine, but they also lived in a time of tyranny. So they understood how bad things could be. Their lives, it was interesting, much different than now. Their lives started under tyranny and they fought to regain their own freedom. And we've always lived a life of freedom right now. And that's why I say it's become so progressive that we become regressive. The democratic socialists are so progressive, you know, and it's really both sides right now at this point, pushing technology for different purposes. But with technology being pushed so far, we are becoming regressive and bringing us back in time. So even though the technology is advanced, it's also bringing us back and kind of dumbing us down. And I think it's a great point. I think we have lost critical thinking compared to, you know, our forefathers, but they didn't have, as you said before, John and Marlon, they didn't have AI. They didn't have the ability to have someone give them assistance. They had to think for themselves. And unfortunately, we've become a society where we're losing that muscle in our brains to be able to have critical thinking. You don't have to be a critical thinker anymore, right? If you need a subjective view, you could go right to Gemini or ChatGPT, whichever one you want to use, Palantir, and you can Grok, and you can get a source, and you can get different subjective opinions and pick one that works in your favor, and it literally works in your favor. So I just think this is a time where we're crossing the point where how do we set those boundaries? And I think that's what's important. So how do we set boundaries? I thought about this when it comes to flock cameras. And I think the most important or effective way to set boundaries would be transparency, right? Tell us exactly what data a particular flock camera is tracking. Tell us how long will that data be stored. And I think that's interesting. If you're not the subject of a crime, let's say, for instance, the police are investigating a robbery or homicide, and your plate gets tracked, and you're not the subject of a crime, how long should that data be stored? And I think on the average, I researched most flock cameras to about 30 days. And I think even 30 days is too long. So what should be the amount of time that data is stored? So that's one thing. So transparency. Let us know how long is that data stored. Also, let us know who's monitoring those flock cameras, who's supervising them, who's authorizing those searches. And I think that's ultimately really important to ensure those boundaries is transparency.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I just think today, I think another thing with like today is, you know, we're really selfish individuals too. I don't think we think about anything. Like, I think, you know, like, I think a lot of people that were against the whole COVID tyranny, I think if they were in a position of power and it was something that they didn't agree with, there was something that they did agree with to mandate, I think that they would have no issue forcing that same style mandate down people's throats. You know, I think that we're like, as a society, we're not forward thinking, and we think of it from very selfish points. So, like, just for example, if it was something that I thought was a good thing, I would say, "Oh, you got to do this, or you're going to lose your job." You know, like something like that. And I don't think that we're nuanced in debate. I don't think we could actually have arguments anymore. I know people that will not talk to me because I will give an opposing opinion when they ask me a question. And I'm like, well, okay, you know, okay, you don't want to talk to me? Okay, no problem. You want me to lie to you? Okay, go find people that'll lie to you. I'm not going to do it to you. You know what I mean? Like, I like you more than that. I'm not going to sit there. Oh yeah, you're great. You're a great singer. Like, no, you're horrible. Like, you know, like, if you want to be a singer, like, if there's a niche for horrible singers, like, you'll be one. You know, but like, I just think that you're terrible. You know, like, and I think that we can't have a debate. So, like, even in this conversation, it's unbelievable the comments I'm seeing. So, one, I agree with you guys. This phone is tracking all of us. Should it? Absolutely not. Should any company or law enforcement be able to hear everything I'm saying through my phone when I'm not calling them? Absolutely not. What are we doing about it? Oh, no, we're just going to be apathetic and not say anything. You know, we're just going to let Flock do it because, hey, we're already on the surveillance. They already took all our rights. Who cares? Who cares? I care. I think technology, not only going forward, but technology going back, should come into constitutional compliance. I'm not okay with all of this. Either should you be. You're an American, sworn oath to the Constitution. You believe in it. You think America is a good thing. Then you should fight for it. You should argue for it, and you should be afraid. You shouldn't be afraid to tell the truth for it. You know. So there's that side. Then you have rag rocks telling me, well, until my kids get carjacked or worse, then I'll wish for Flock. No, you know what I'll wish for? I'll wish for a competent police department. I'll wish for a competent police department, because the state of policing today. The state of public safety today, they could have all the fucking data in the world and they ain't going to get nothing done, because it's filled with incompetent DEI hires who have no business being in policing, who couldn't fucking find a collar in a shirt factory. So you could give them everything. What? I don't know. So, no, I want competent police forces. I want competent law enforcement who, by the way, was solving all these crimes way before we had any of this technology. They were solving crimes with typewriters. Click, 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 click. They were solving crimes pre-typewriters. So don't tell me all this bullshit. I got to give up my freedom. Then I'll beg for it. No, I won't. I won't beg to give my safety up. I give my freedom up for a little bit of safety that you're not going to provide me anyway. You know, I was just talking to somebody yesterday. Scott Lebedo. It was the sickest thing I heard. It's like, honestly, it just shows everything wrong with society. Everything wrong with people who are like, yeah, the government's going to do a great job and they're going to keep us safe and they have all the tools that because they're the smartest people in the world. Scott Lebedo, he's at an event called National Night Out. It's a public safety event. There are thousands of people there. It's down the block from my house on Staten Island, which is around the block from Staten Island North Hospital. Literally around the block. Right there. They're on the boardwalk. They're right here. There's thousands of people there. There's cops there. They got all the toys for everybody to play with. The mayor's there. The police commission is there. It's a nationally televised event. There's media everywhere. Scott Lebedo is being Scott Lebedo, right? America's patriot artist. He's there. He's protesting Mondani. He's telling him, get the F out of here. He drops. Heart stops. Widowmaker. Boom. Cops on scene have a defib. They defibrillate him. They bring him back. Right? How long do you think it took the ambulance to get there? Now, Scott credits the first responders for keeping him alive, including EMS. How long do you think it took for EMS to get there to transport him to the hospital? The mayor's there. The police commissioner's there. There's cops everywhere. Thank God they had a defibrillator there. Thank God there's thousands of people there. There's cameras everywhere. He's around the block from the hospital. There were flock cameras everywhere, by the way, keeping all of us safe. He was so safe in that scenario, right? Because it was National Night Out. It was public safety on display. 20 minutes. 20 fucking minutes to go around the block. Do I think flock is going to protect? Do I think giving up my civil liberties for the safety that we're currently being provided is going to make me more safe? I don't think that at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to make me less safe. And I think it's going to make you less safe because, again, law enforcement coupled with technology that wasn't properly thought out is a very, very dangerous thing. Look at this video. This is just one. I'm gonna start to play these videos because this is just one.
Today, I spoke with a woman who had guns drawn on her near Brookfield on the interstate.
I haven't been asleep since this happened. Every time I close my eyes, all I can see is guns. My mom is like my go-to person. I wanted to call her so bad yesterday, but I'm like, if I make a sudden move, it's gonna be over.
But she had done nothing wrong. Milwaukee police accidentally didn't remove an alert that was on her vehicle in the flock camera system. That alert told them that Amber's vehicle was related to a homicide, which wasn't true.
The only thing they said was, you contact Milwaukee Police Department, it's their fault. That's all they kept saying was, it's their fault. It's not our fault, it's their fault.
The false alarm told them the vehicle was still wanted, and Brookfield police say they responded to MPD's call. MPD declined an interview. She still hasn't heard anything from Milwaukee police after trying to get in contact with them. Amber said she was also pulled over last Monday by Milwaukee police. She said they had their guns drawn then as well. It's unclear if that situation is connected to the same flock camera false alarm. Today, I spoke with a woman who had...
And this is just one of these cases, by the way, because there's multiple where you're going to see there's one guy, he gets pulled over every day at gunpoint for the same thing. The same exact thing every single day. His car's alerted. They're unable to remove it out of the system. And that's exactly why she was pulled out at gunpoint after that. So I'm like, no, I'm not okay. Like, oh, yeah, just do whatever because I trust you guys. Like, no, I don't trust you guys because what I see is incompetent systems being led by incompetent people.
Yeah, John was spot on there. Spot on. A lot of times it's hard having these conversations with like conservatives because a lot of them just dismiss these concerns. I I think conservatives need to consider what happens when your side has access to that technology. You know, what happens? We complain a lot about what happened under Obama and Biden certainly, but is that technology only okay because Trump is in charge now? What happens when another progressive gets in charge of that technology? You saw what happened during those times where they went after the other side. So think of it for a second. Those you need to have there needs to be guidelines in place for that technology, because if there's not, it's going to get abused by the bad actors when they get into power. Okay, and bad actors in police departments and government in general. And you can't just be okay with it because it's your side now proposing it. Okay, and keep in mind also that I don't understand how a lot of these a lot of the software and a lot of these tools are being pushed right now, because the courts have already determined that a lot of that surveillance is a violation of Fourth Amendment rights. Yeah, there's a case in 2017 2018 called Carpenter versus United States, where the government held that historical cell site information, uh, government acquiring it is a violation of the Fourth Amendment uh, search. Yeah, I mean that's government acquiring it without a warrant. Okay. There's another one in just in this year called Shatri versus United States, where um, historical Google location data was added to that as well. So keep in mind, as we said before, that these tools will be able to track everything that you do. Okay, they'll be able to provide a historical record of what you do in the house, what you're doing in the public, because all that data is being aggregated in the background by things that are by the AI that's connected to these surveillance tools. And the AI can churn out a pattern of life for you, and that in itself is where the violation is. Sure, you don't have expectation of privacy in public, but what happens when government is using that data to track you and create a pattern of life for you? Okay, so I wish conservatives, I hope conservatives look at this with a more measured approach and understand that it may sound great now and it may be proposed to us for our protection and for our public safety, right? But what have we seen in the past? We've seen that government, when given these tools without guidelines, will abuse it. We've seen government abuse a lot of these privileges during the scamdemic. We've seen it, a lot of it, when those bad actors became the presidents of the United States, and they put even more bad actors into the DOJ. So, is that the kind of future that you want when another one of these guys gets into power again?
I think that's a great case that you brought up, Carpenter versus the United States, and the reason why, because that case is less than a decade old. That case is actually a Supreme Court case from 2018. And the complainant in that case, his name was Timothy Carpenter. So Timothy Carpenter was actually being investigated. I think it was for a robbery or burglary, and they obtained a check of the cell site, exactly that, without probable cause and getting a warrant. Much different in that case. I think it was 4 out of 5 that favored for Timothy Carpenter. That's a great case, but that case is from 2018, just to show you how new it is. That's pretty new when it comes to Supreme Court cases. Some Supreme Court cases are from the late 60s and the early 70s, just to show you the technology that's moving forward. So eventually, I'm sure we'll see some type of Supreme Court case with Flock. So I think that was a fantastic case to bring up. And I think we should go back and discuss the difference, because I know a lot of people spoke about it here. And John, you were kind of saying like, yeah, who cares if they track me, right? They're tracking my phone anyway. I think it's really very different, right? I mean, I'm not that savvy when it comes to technology, but smart enough to go to my settings on my smartphone, and I can go to my settings and create privacy settings where you can't do that with flock cameras. So your cell phone is your private device. And as Marlon said earlier, I think that's a great point. That's an agreement you made with a private company. Some people could argue that you really can't survive in today's world without a smartphone. But we all get a smartphone. We agree to what phone you want to purchase, what company you want to choose. You get to pick what company you want, right? And so you could read the company's policies. And you could also go through your phone and set the data privacy settings, which you can't do with a flock camera, right? You can't go to a flock camera and set it. Oh, I live in this particular community. This is the only thing I wanted to check with my car. You can't do that. So I think there's a huge distinction and a big dichotomy in comparison to your phone and a flock camera. Now, does your phone make observations or does it track you? I think that's another conversation. I think that it does a little bit of both. But again, you can go through your phone and change those settings. Now, some people might say that even if you change those settings, does it actually change? I don't know. I think that's another argument, that if you change those settings, is there some other backup hidden there? I don't know, maybe. But it is a choice to get that smartphone and you say, well, I want T-Mobile, or I want Mint Mobile, or I want Verizon. You get that choice, what phone you want to carry, how many lines you want to have. But with flock, it's something completely different. Again, going back to what we said earlier, I think flock camera is a great tool, fantastic tool. We want to be able to investigate crime, but we don't want to cross over into civil liberties, and we need boundaries when it comes to the Fourth Amendment. And that's why that case of Carpenter, and I'm really glad you brought that up, Marlon, Carpenter versus United States from 2018 is such a great case, because it's not even just his cell phone particularly, it's the actual cell phone site, right? Because ultimately there's a connection and attachment and nexus between your phone and that actual cell site. Quite interesting. I think it's a great case. People should look it up, especially for the fact that it's less than a decade old. So as I said before, I'm sure eventually we will see some type of case that comes and emanates from flock cameras. So ultimately, what a Supreme Court case is, in my opinion, their failures and experiences throughout time. And that's what Supreme Court cases are, that where people have analyzed something, as time evolves. So great case, Mullen, really spot on, brother. John, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, no, I think, somebody said it in here. I forget who it was. Apologize. They said, give it 100%, 1,000% access to ICE for them to track illegals. Yeah, 100%. I'm okay with that. They're not American citizens. I'm perfectly okay with that. You entered this country legally or illegally, and you're not an American citizen. What constitutional rights do you have? Yeah, you're on parole. We want to use flock to track you and track your movements. Yeah, why not? I mean, parole officers do a horrible job at it. Another diminished, emasculated department that's out there throughout this country. Yeah. Why wouldn't we use technology for that? Me, average person, go fuck yourself. Before we go any further, I got a video I want to show you guys. And I got a bunch of videos I want to show you guys. So
you want to go to our sponsor first, John, before you?
Well, if you would have let me finish what I was saying, I was going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we're talking about the other video. Oh
no,
well.
No. I got a bunch of videos that
I'm on time, Dave. That's all.
That's it, bro. I'm late. So, all right. It's time for a message from our partners over at Kalshi. We make predictions every single day about pop culture and the biggest stories making headlines. Kalshi is America's #1 predictions market platform. It lets you trade those predictions in a live market. Who will be the 2028 U.S. presidential election winner? Right now, Marco Rubio, becoming the 2028 presidential election winner, is currently trading at 14%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $629. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code FINEST to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory. So, and I think this plays into it, right? Because we don't know who the next president is. You might be comfortable right now with Flock having full access and law enforcement having full access and these predictive AI models when Donald Trump's your president. Or you might be okay if Marco Rubio becomes your president. But are you going to feel okay if Gavin Newsom or AOC is your president? And I'll tell you right now, I don't feel okay with any of them having access to it, because the people that have access, I don't think are competent. And I think there's a lot of integrity issues currently in law enforcement as a result of all poor hiring practices and what these departments have done to their employees.
Lauren Wyan, and I am here tonight not just as a resident, but as someone's life who was turned upside down by a system that this council is being asked to expand. On May 8th, just after this council heard details outlining the proposed expansion, O'Fallon Police Department utilized technology and identified my husband as a suspect based on a vague description by police using the Flock surveillance system. The mistake led to a terrifying encounter at our house. 7 police officers swarmed our house with guns drawn, demanding us, shouting for our hands up to exit our home. It was 8 o'clock at night. We were relaxing in our home, feeling safe. And since then, that sense of safety has been since taken from us. We were treated as dangerous criminals and not like citizens. Our neighbors watched in shock, and my husband and I are still trying to process this trauma. There was no apology or acknowledgement for the harm that was caused, just an offer to do a police ride-along. Now we are here with the same police department whose inability to use existing technology correctly or common sense policing when suspects were, one, African American and reported to have gone the opposite direction of which the police went, are requesting nearly $2 million to upgrade this very system that caused the harm without any explanation of what went wrong, how this will be fixed, or how community members like myself are going.
Yeah, but, if you're a victim of a crime, though, they could get the guy, Mo. Yeah, they're tracking you already on your phone. What's the big deal?
Yeah.
I just want to say before we go into our serious topic, my shirt matches perfectly with Kalshi, by the way. It's looking pretty good.
Oh.
I didn't do that on purpose.
Did you coordinate it? I don't believe him.
No, I didn't do it on purpose at
Let's
all.
do a
But I'm
poll.
looking at it
We'll
now,
believe
like this looks damn good with the screen. I think that my color's green. Anyway, Marlon, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to push back against John on the illegals. I think even the illegals, once you come into this country, you have rights.
No, you don't.
You have certain rights.
No, you don't. You don't have constitutional protections. You're not an American citizen. No, you don't.
Well, here's my question: Is illegal entry to the United States a law enforcement issue, or is it a national defense issue?
It's a national
Because if
defense.
it's well, it's not. It's treated right now as a law enforcement issue, and
because part of law enforcement job is national defense with terrorism.
Well.
If you go into any country in America, if you go to any country outside of America, they are tracking your movements. We're the only country on earth that believes that people that come to travel here or enter here illegally have rights. We're the only country on earth. And I don't believe that at all. They have rights as far as humane. They don't have constitutional protections. Absolutely don't. We're not going to mistreat you and throw you in a cage, and which they'll do in other countries. We'll make sure that you're safe and you're healthy, but you could get your ass out of here. So you can push back all you want, but in my America, don't vote for me for president, because because like I said, if you're not an American citizen, you're not privy to those constitutional protections.
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that there needs to be a distinction made between that. I think it should be made a national defense issue, and it shouldn't be handled by law enforcement. Okay, because then we can have that conversation about them not having certain rights. But as it stands now, it's a law enforcement issue, which means you have certain rights. And again, the burden of proof is on the state, right? You have the presumption of innocence. Okay, so you have certain rights, regardless. We have to prove that you came here illegally. You're not stripped of the
but we have
rights
probable cause that
Americans
you either overstayed your welcome, or you're here illegally. Like, we have probable cause that you're not here legally.
But you have to prove it. Okay, you have to prove it.
Yeah, here's my proof.
And
The flock system. You entered this country at this time. You were supposed to leave last week. You entered this country here, and you were never here. Here's my probable cause. Let's go to the court, and you'll be extradited. See you later. And it is a law enforcement issue, national security, and there is no reason on God's green earth that police departments shouldn't honor detainers from ICE. Should it ultimately fall on ICE and border and customs? Yeah, it should absolutely fall on Homeland Security. However, to say that the NYPD or any other law enforcement agency on this earth should not cooperate with those federal agencies to enforce federal law, especially when we're sitting here and telling people, oh, yeah, no, I don't believe that terrorism's not real, and I don't believe that there aren't millions of bad actors, if not, I don't want to say millions, but thousands of bad actors that entered in here to do harm, to whether it's to prey on Americans for drug sales, whether it's to partake in acts of terrorism, whether it's sleeper cells. The proof's in the pudding, baby. I'll just look at the history. There is no reason why we would say, oh, you came here illegally. Yeah, no, it's not a law enforcement issue. No, it is. It's a huge law enforcement issue coupled with a national security issue. It's the same thing, in my opinion. Does that mean that the NYPD should be doing running around doing immigration law? No. But when they lock someone up doing something, and they have a detainer from ICE, they should 100% honor it. The only reason they don't is because of Democrats, because Democrats would rather ICE go out onto the streets of the cities, get involved in issues so that they could rally harder when people die as a result of putting officers in situations they're not supposed to be handling. City cops.
Well, hold on a minute here. Listen, I agree. I agree that your rights and your civil liberties are far different threshold if you're illegal in this country in comparison to someone that's actually an American citizen. But if we get to that, we could say anything is a national defense issue. We can say that someone that commits a crime, even a robbery or a burglary, is a national defense issue. We could box it in any facet we want. We could say any crime that is potentially committed in any city, we could say is a national defense issue. So where do we draw the line?
American citizen, not an American citizen. I already said it. The line's drawn. You're an American citizen. You have constitutional protections. You're not an American citizen. You don't.
Well,
slippery slope. Slippery slope.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
It's not a slippery slope. It's actually how this country's been
rhetorically speaking. But wait a minute. Rhetorically speaking, you're not married, John. Let's say you're a single guy, and you meet a woman. You go out on a date. You end up. You don't know the girl is. She lies to you. She tells you that she's an American citizen. You don't know, and you have a relationship, and now she's being surveilled. Ultimately, you're being surveilled too now. Does that change it?
Well, she's being surveilled. No, it doesn't.
But now you're being surveilled because you're with her.
Well, I met this girl and she was dealing drugs, and I'm being surveilled.
That's my point.
Wait. Oh, no, that's not your point, because she's
dealing drugs. It's not my point.
She's dealing drugs. No, because you guys you're making a different argument. You're making a totally different argument.
No,
she's dealing drugs, which also violates the laws of this country, does it not?
No, I didn't say she was dealing drugs. She's just being surveilled because she's illegal.
Because she broke the law.
No. We're
talking. Wait. So you entered this country illegally and you didn't break the law?
No, that is breaking the law. Yes.
Okay, so she's dealing drugs. What's the difference?
No, I mean, listen. I mean, comparing entering the country illegally, how they enter the country, those are different conversations. As far as compared to dealing drugs, that's a law enforcement issue too, also. But that's why I'm asking, where do they cross boundaries? Well,
I just said it. If you're an American citizen or you're not an American citizen.
But you're dating this person, now you're being surveilled too.
Well, just because you didn't, like I said, you didn't know she was illegal. You didn't know she was illegal. If you did know she was illegal, you're committing a crime. If you didn't know, guess what? You still read the law. You're still probably committing a crime. Same thing with her dealing drugs, and you didn't know.
Did you ever go on a date and ask a girl her status? I never did. Yeah, hey, are you an American citizen? I want dates with plenty of Puerto Rican girls, Dominican girls. They had
so here's the question: do you support border enforcement or do you not? Because it sounds like that you guys.
No, of course I do. But what we're saying, I think, Mom, I would say that we all agree. We all agree that if you're illegal that you don't have the same civil liberties. But we're kind of saying, at what point do we cross a slippery slope here? Because ultimately, you're with this person, you could be surveilled too. That's what that's my point, and I think that's why I'm saying what limitations, what boundaries.
When you break the law, you could be surveilled by the police department, right? You could be under surveillance. When you break the law, regardless of the crime, and you, whether you're with someone that you know broke the law or not, it's you're up to be surveilled. I don't see any difference in the argument at all. They broke the law. They're here illegally. Like I'm sure I probably dated girls that were here illegally.
But that's what, but you understand my point. You said if you don't know or you do know, you're still breaking the law. I mean, I don't go around.
I don't know.
I
just don't know if knowing. I don't know if knowingly is in there. I don't know if knowingly is in the law. I'd have to read it.
That would be a great Supreme Court case right there, because I mean, who goes around and asks people what their citizenship status is? I never did. I don't go around saying, "Hey, buddy, how you doing, man? What's your citizenship status?"
Here's the problem: we either support border security or we don't. It's one or the other.
Yeah, that's two different conversations, John. Yeah, yeah, it is. I'm simply saying
you're saying you can't surveil illegals.
I'm saying once you cross the line into America, you have certain rights. Okay, and
which ones? Which ones?
Which ones? We have a whole
rights?
constitution. We have a full constitution full of those. What I'm saying is, you're inside America.
So the minute you cross the border, you're entitled to every constitutional protection there is.
Wait. What I'm simply saying is, once you cross the line, once you're into America, okay, we have the presumption of innocence, okay, and the burden of proof is on the state to prove that you are here legally. The government, the police cannot surveil you illegally, cannot violate your Fourth Amendment rights, cannot.
You are time out. You are here. Mm-hmm. You are either here legally for an X amount of time. We could start surveilling you from the minute you walk in here to ensure that, in fact, you leave when you're supposed to leave. You entered here illegally. You crossed the border, and we begin to surveil you from the minute you cross the border until we grab you and bring you to your trial and give you your due process and deport you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with surveillance in either of those cases.
What about, okay, we're talking about national defense right now. What about as far as rights to the amendments? Do you have right to, are you saying someone here legally does not have right to search and seizure? We should be able to do warrantless searches.
I'm saying that if you're not a citizen, you entered here illegally, you have already gave up your constitutional right. You're not here illegally. When you come here legally under X precedences. You will be here for this time and this time only.
How do you know you're illegal?
You got to go. I just told you how you know you're illegal. You entered the border at a border passing. You circumvented going through a checkpoint. You're here illegally. That's it.
Do we read illegals? If an illegal is arrested, do we read the Miranda? We do.
Absolutely, we do.
Right, but what you're saying is,
I'm saying that the flock camera could be used to surveil them.
Well, connect with me here. Are you saying, though, what you're saying, the logic would mean that someone that is illegal should not be read their Miranda? Or
I didn't say that.
I said that.
I did not say that. I did not say that. What I said was
you can't cherry pick which ones.
I'm not cherry picking. You guys are cherry picking. I'm not.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We're not.
I'm saying somebody crossed the border illegally, gets picked up by a flock camera. They could be surveilled that entire time. We already know you crossed the border illegally because you didn't go through a checkpoint. That is an illegal entry. End of story.
How does the flock camera pick up know who's the illegal and who's the?
Because
US
I just told you you're required to enter the country at border security checkpoints. It's that simple.
So the problem is this leads down the road, the rabbit hole, to a national ID, some sort of ID, and government having the right
we don't want
to
that.
tell
Right?
you in
We don't want
public.
people. We don't want people to have to show ID to vote. We can't have that either.
I-
'Cause that's racist.
Well,
I
no,
gotta-
no. The problem is making the distinction between who is the illegal and who is the U.S. citizen.
Yeah, the
And
people
that's
that
what the
entered
problem
this
is.
country legally and the people that haven't. It's not
How
hard.
do you know? It's not like everybody has a tag on them. This person's
Yeah.
illegal. This person's not. The whole point is we don't know. We have to assume. You have to assume everyone's a citizen because you don't know. People aren't walking around with a sign that says "I'm not a citizen."
So if
That's
someone
what's-
crosses the border today, you don't think that the government they cross the border at a checkpoint today, not
Mhm.
at a checkpoint. The government has no right to surveil those people. That's what you're saying. Because I
No,
totally
that's not
No,
what
no,
I said.
no.
No.
The
That's
thing
not-
is, when
no.
you
You're
cross the border,
arguing
there are
this
cameras
whole
there.
point with me. What do you mean? That's exactly what you're saying.
Well, I'm talking about they've crossed the border. Yeah, now they're in the middle of New York. What do we do? What are we saying? That person now in
We
New York
send
doesn't have
ICE.
rights?
We send ICE to grab them, or they get picked up
Uh-huh.
because ICE has a detainer, and we have them on this flock camera. And now we bring
Uh-huh.
that before a court, and we say, "See you later. You're going back to your country. See you later."
So do
You
they
the
have
right to
rights
remain silent, by the way?
now
I
that
think
they're
the
in
way
New
that you're
York? Do they
saying it-
have certain rights?
The way you're saying it, though, I think is kind of like what's happening in real time. Someone crosses the border and we're following them. But what if someone's here 10 years illegally and all of a sudden we start following them?
Well, look, I'm not saying like I don't think how are we going backwards. I'm just saying I'm just talking about surveilling. I'm not going to say Marlin's illegal. He's got an accent. Start flocking him. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they crossed the border illegally. We have them on camera crossing the border illegally. We could surveil them the entire time. When we have someone entered the country, we get them on the flock camera. We're saying you could stay here to September 27th. You have a visa to stay here or whatever. You could stay here till 2028. Yeah, we allowed them to come in. They're in the country legally. Guess what? September 28th happened. Where the hell is John? And how come he hasn't left the country yet? Now we could surveil you. And now we could apprehend you. And now we could say, you're out of here. You violated.
You know what they do in other countries of how they track people? What they do really is they don't necessarily say you have to leave today. What they do is like places like Thailand, for instance. If you leave past your visa, they charge you per day. That's what they do. They'll say you owe so much money to the government. So I know you're saying that they could track you, but not necessarily track you. But maybe the reason why I'm saying that this is a slippery slope is because we're assuming that the person's always by themselves. But what, like I said, you're dating a girl, you have no idea she's not a citizen. They're tracking you too. I mean, in Franco's kind of funny. I don't know if this is true in Franco, but that's hilarious. He says, I dated a girl from Ireland when I was a rookie. She told me she was here on an expired visa after sex. I ended it. That's actually pretty funny. But I don't know why you ended the relationship.
I would have just said I thought she was joking, and that's it. You know? I didn't believe it.
I just want to know how that conversation came up about her visa and her status. But anyway, but that's my point. I get it. You're illegal. Technically, you commit a crime. Yes, I think I don't think your rights hold up as well. But I'm thinking that if you are being tracked, the people with you are being tracked too. That's my point.
That and the thing is, it's one thing to have a bunch of flock cameras in the middle of the desert. Okay, who cares? Than to have a bunch of flock cameras in the middle of your town or in the middle of your cities, because then it's tracking Americans too.
Well, what I'm saying is none of that data on Americans should be put in or kept.
There's no way that's gonna be that you can surveil this society and make a distinction between the illegal and the innocent.
Absolutely, there is. What there 100% is. I could set up the entire system right now.
That's
anybody
creating a
that's here already.
surveillance state.
Anybody that's here already does not have a number, and you cannot track them. Anybody who crosses gets a number the minute they cross, and now you track them. There's your system.
What happens in an emergency? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I think that's a great debate because I just want to know, John, like, what does that look like? Like, who authorizes that? Like, who does that? I get it. Not a bad idea. Like, I'm not saying you should get an ankle bracelet, but how do you track that person? They come in, you get number 19.
Because you have a system of cameras that everywhere you go, will ding you because they have your facial recognition, they have your gait movements, they have the vehicle you travel in, they have your movements tracked. You know,
Okay.
there's that system in
Okay.
place, but this system will not be accessed for any other reason.
But great point. But now this is why I say it's a slippery slope. Let's say they do that and the tag now and it's working so well. You think they're going to just stop at illegals? Let's start tracking those guys that do podcasts. Let's start tracking those guys.
Well, again, that is why there needs to be constraints on technology, constitutional constraints. There needs to be oversight. There needs to be audit done, and there needs to be legislation around all of it. And people need to be held accountable when they break the law.
What about suspicion? What if someone calls? They call. Listen, they call the FBI. You know what? John McCarry, I think that his parents took him here illegally. I would look into it. And they start tracking.
First of all, I don't think the FBI is doing anything with that. But if the FBI wants to do something with that, they should do good old-fashioned police work and do all the stuff that we had before you had all AI and all this technology. And, do whatever you went to college and whatever little fucking town in Ohio you came from where you were socially awkward and the FBI deemed you socially awkward enough to pass their lie detector test. And, they're like, oh, you never had sex? Oh, good. Oh, you never masturbate? Oh, great. Oh, you had no friends? Perfect. Oh, you never got into a fight? And you've never pushed back at authority once. Your teacher has never said anything to you? Perfect candidate. Here you go. This is called a COVID vaccine. Go medically rape all your employees with it. Thank you, sir. I think they should just do good old-fashioned police work. Look at these guys. I mean, look what they're doing. Like, I'm not saying that law enforcement should have unfettered access to this. I'm saying Americans have the rights to not be tracked. Look at
all
this.
Right, can we track illegals, but not the big booties? Let's not track the big booties, all right?
And you could get out big booty Latinas if the butt isn't flat. You could track. Not the big booty Latinas.
We need to leave them alone, right?
Well, I don't think anyone's against that.
Was part of an exclusive group of detectives assigned to investigate misconduct by fellow officers.
But prosecutors say he was the one breaking the law, spying on citizens with city-owned cameras and a personal GPS device. Derek Rose is tracking those developments in the flock camera spying scandal. And Derek, this detective has 22 years of service.
Yeah, Blake, it is rare to see someone from Internal Affairs in its division face criminal charges given the nature of their job. But prosecutors say an IA detective admitted himself to violating policy and the law just before he was assigned to investigate a fellow officer for abusing department resources. At the corner of Teutonia and Elm are some of the most sensitive police investigations, the home of Internal Affairs and the detectives who investigate fellow officers accused of misconduct. It's where they dug into the case of Josue Ayala, an officer suspected of using city-owned flock camera license plate readers to track the movements of an ex and the ex's new love interest. The Ayala investigation triggered an internal audit of the flock system department-wide. Court records show that audit revealed Detective Taranji Chapman used the system to track the movements of two citizens 20 times between January 2024 and January 2025. Inputting the terms test or training into the system to explain the reason for the searches. It's the same Detective Chapman assigned to investigate similar allegations against Josue Ayala. Ayala has since pled guilty, and now Chapman is on the docket for the district attorney, charging him Wednesday with misconduct in public office. Prosecutors writing in the complaint, not only did Chapman admit to violating policy with the searches, but also admitted to installing a GPS tracking device on a person's car without the person's knowledge or consent. Chapman did not answer the door when 12 News showed up to his home hours after prosecutors filed the complaint. But in that complaint, they described Chapman as emotional and embarrassed about his actions and the impact those actions would have on the department. And we requested Chapman's official department photo. We're still waiting on that picture tonight. Meanwhile, Chapman is not in police custody. Court records show he's hired attorney Michael Hart, who has represented other Milwaukee police officers. He's due in court next week. According to police officials, Chapman is on full suspension.
So the Milwaukee Police Department investigates a detective for misusing the flock camera. The internal affairs detective that they assigned was also misusing the flock camera. So that's what I'm saying. Americans' data should not be tracked in the system unless there is a valid reason for you to have your facial recognition data or anything put in there, similar to DNA. Similar to DNA, like your DNA is not stored to be ran and checked and all this, and it's the same thing with this. You should not be put in there, but yet you commit a crime, you're on parole, you get to a mandated release. We can put your DNA in the system. It's the same thing with this. Your biometrics should not be in that system. None of your data should be in that system. And here's the other problem with it. These guys were all captured. And by the way, this is happening all over the country, where rank and file officers, some are searching people 700 times, 1,000 times, ex-girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, just totally misusing what the intended purpose of this technology was for. And that's all well and good because there's audit trails on them. But, I was reading The Gothamist, and I'm very well aware of what happened to Dana Raikkonen and what happened to her and what she's alleging the New York City Police Department did to her. And she's saying that all her data was put out there, and it was all they got. Specifically, Marjorie, Kaz, and Shell got access to her data through their no-peek access, or what they're calling, the papers are calling, ghost access. Meaning, there's an audit trail on rank and file officers, but for investigative purposes, the upper echelons of these departments are given ghost access, no peek access, meaning you don't know when they access that data. There's no audit trail on them. And that's another piece of legislation that should be put in, that there is an audit trail for literally every single person who accesses this data, including the companies. And there should be a higher authority overseeing all of it, and whoever violates it shouldn't get to sail off into the sunset and retirement, awaiting the federal investigation to go away so they could drop their 3/4 papers. They should get arrested, removed, and their pension removed.
Yeah. Wow, there's a lot to this conversation, we inadvertently again, I'm gonna have to push back on you, John, because you inadvertently used the same arguments that were used for the Patriot Act. Okay, remember, Patriot Act was said, oh, it's gonna be used for terrorists.
American
This will
citizens,
never be used for Americans.
not American citizens. American citizens, not American citizens. Patriot Act was used against American citizens.
Yeah. So how do you prevent that from ever happening again? You can't.
I already told you.
There's no way you
my
can.
data does not get tracked in there.
Impossible. As long as the ability is there, it's going to get used. And here's an example. I've given this example many times before, right? NYPD has a patrol guide. We have an admin guide. We have tons of rules. We have tons of oversight bodies. We have IB. We have investigations. We have inspections. We have the ICO. We have citywide units that look into the police department. All of these layers of oversight. Okay, and still, people like the upper echelon break the rules all the time. They look into data that they shouldn't have, and it happens all the time. And is there repercussions for it? No. I've given this example before. When I was a cadet, initially I was a cadet in MISD, right? That's that's the bureau that's in charge of the computers, right? It's been renamed now to ITB. But when it was MISD, I was in a one of these units where there was a tech guy in there, right? And one day I'm in there, I'm doing some homework, right? And he asked me to come over and take a look at his phone. So I go, okay, all right, I come over, and he's showing me porn on the computer. I was like, what the fuck? Because even as a cadet, I knew, come on, what are we doing here? As soon as I saw this, I'm like, I was already bored with that unit, but I saw that, I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of this unit, him showing me shit like that is gonna prevent me from becoming a cop before I even get in the door. I was a cadet, So the next chance I got to get the opportunity to get the fuck out of there, I got the fuck out of it. But my point is, he was a civilian, he was the tech guy, he was the people managing the data. Was there any ramifications for him watching that? No, but there is for the cops. Okay, my point here is, we can put down a million laws, a million rules, whatever. The point is, somebody has to manage that data. Somebody has access to that data. And those people that have access to the data will break the law. Okay. And the people, the bad actors in the system will use those people to get access to the data. There's just no way of preventing, because human nature, okay? We can't make laws around human nature and still give them access to it. Especially when it comes to data. You know? And what else was I gonna say? Let's go back to the scamdemic also. What's preventing them from in some emergency, government loves emergencies, right? They say, oh shit, we have a virus going around, a pandemic. How do we track this pandemic? Well, you know what? We have these flock cameras around here. The system's already in place. You know, what's stopping government then from saying, oh, it's an emergency? Trust me, we're gonna use this temporarily. Don't worry, guys. As soon as the emergency's over, we're gonna go back to normal. Okay?
You know, one thing I learned is everything that's temporary becomes temporarily permanent, right? Everything, just like with the NYPD, when someone gets a temporary transfer, it's pretty much temporarily permanent. So that's my point. I said earlier, like we have to create boundaries. I get it. If we're going to track illegals, I understand, but we have to track boundaries, and that's why I said we need transparency. Like, who's monitoring these things? Who authorizes? Where does that data get collected? How long does it get stored for? Because let's say you are dating that girl, and they're following her, and your information gets tracked. How long does your information get stored? Is it 30 days? Is it 5 days? Is it 10 days? And what is the threshold that's okay with you? Because during that time, who gets access to it? What can they do with that information? And as Marlon said, that's a great point. It could be temporarily, in my opinion, becomes temporarily permanent. Oh, there's a state of emergency, just as they did with COVID, exceed the statute of limitations, and now it's temporarily permanent. Now everyone we're not just flocking illegals, we're flocking everyone. And so that's why I think it's a slippery slope. If we start to grant access, okay, it's working for illegals, let's do it for everyone. Like how do we create those boundaries? Like, what does that look like? That's the problem.
I mean, I don't know. I'm like explaining it to you, and you both just don't hear it. Like, you're not tracking American data in there unless there is a necessary clause. You literally program the system it cannot keep the data. It has to expunge it as it takes it in. You're shaking your head, but it's like it absolutely could happen. It's not hard to do.
So you're saying that the information doesn't get stored at all? How?
At all. You exactly what I said. You have an assigned number or you don't. You only track the assigned numbers, and that is it. You don't track everything else. And sorry, if you're with someone that you didn't know was dealing drugs and they use the system, like, sorry, that's your fault. If you didn't know someone crossed the border illegally and you're getting your byproduct is when you're with them, you're being tracked. That's what happens. I mean, this is life. I mean, this isn't hard. I mean, like, I don't see, like, again, I just say there's good things in technology, but there needs to be constraints on it. And, the thing that happens is there's no nuanced conversation ever. It's you're either for it or against it, and there's nothing in the middle. Oh, no, burn the flock cameras. No, they suck. We can never use this technology. Not happening, by the way. It's not happening. Like, technology is going to evolve and we're going to continue to use it, whether it's flock or whether it's something else. And it's probably something else even further down the block. It's what are the constraints there? When are we using it? What times should they be used? And when shouldn't they be used? How long is that data? Like, what are you storing data for? What's the time frame? Why are you storing data on American citizens who've committed no crime? How long are you doing that? Why is my facial data being? Why is that happening when I'm walking into Home Depot? Maybe Home Depot overstepped. Maybe Disney overstepped with my biometrics. Maybe Google overstepped with my biometrics. This is why we have elected representatives. This is what we have. And I'll tell you right now, I don't give a shit about the illegals because we have so many problems in this country that I can't worry about who broke the law and came in here. Oh, it is what it is. Sorry, like, we got big problems here, and a lot of the problems, a lot of the affordability, and a lot of the stuff that's happening is a result of letting unfettered people come into this country that we're supporting. Sorry, they're propping all these industries up. Not all of them, a very small number of them are.
Well, keep in mind the government are the ones who let these illegals in. The illegals don't just You know, they don't just hop over multiple layers of security at the border. There is no security at the border. You just walk in through the fence, hole in the fence.
Exactly.
I mean,
We should be able to track those people and not worry about it.
well,
And
Have you
now
seen
we
the
should
border?
have.
Have you ever been? I drove to the border of El Paso.
Mhm.
When I drove cross country, I drove to the border of El Paso. I said, man, we have more security in our backyards than they do at that border. It's open. It's unbelievable. Everybody should take a drive to the border of El Paso, and you have to see it. It's wild. It's like a chain link fence.
The other thing I'm saying is I don't care if there's a flock camera on the border. Go ahead. I agree with that. Put it in the desert. Put it on the border. Let's get the whole package on the border. Get the drones up. Get the robots. It's our border. But there's a difference between having a flock camera on the border and in the desert than there is in a town. Okay, that there is in a playground, that there is in a city tracking all of everybody in the city. That is no go. Okay, and there's no way that we can put those down in cities and say, oh no, this is specifically for the illegals. You can't do it. You can't program it. You can't manage the data because again, somebody got to program it. That somebody has access to all the data. That somebody, those somebodies report to somebody else who's the boss. That boss can tell them, hey, you know what? I need this today. And they're gonna give it up. So that is my point. It's one thing when you're in the desert crossing that border, and it's another thing when those illegals are in the city mingling with the regular with U.S. citizens. Once you get there, they have rights. Unfortunately, they have rights. And my other thing is this
I never said
technology
they don't
isn't
have
new.
rights. I never said they don't have rights, but to
Mm.
sit there and say that we can't track you when we have probable cause that you committed a crime is absolutely 100% wrong. It's just wrong.
Well, here's the other thing. The government already has these tools. These tools aren't new. What happens is DARPA develops them for decades, and then the CIA gets first dibs on it. CIA and the Defense Department gets first dibs. And at a certain point, the technology gets so good that the government surfaces it to U.S. corporations. That's how Facebook was a DARPA initiative. Google was a DARPA initiative. Palantir, uh, you name it. I could go down the list of everything. And technology too. The internet, by the way, was a DARPA initiative too. Before the internet, there was ARPA, which existed in the 60s up until the 80s, and then it surfaced in the public internet. So the government had access to all of these things. So and the government could have used all these things, and I'm sure the CIA and the Defense Department used all of these things for national security, which is fine. But there's a difference between when it was used in the background, okay, for national security, and now it's being surfaced in the front and pushed towards law enforcement. That is something completely different. And if we want to treat illegals crossing the border like a national defense issue, which I'm fine with, then that's not an argument for this technology to be surfaced. That's an argument for the technology to go back in the closet, being used by the Defense Department and the CIA like it was before. My problem is all this technology is getting surfaced now and being used on the American public, and there's no way to have that
because again, you're
technology in the
saying that
public.
they can't put constraints on the technology, which I totally
No.
disagree with.
You
I
cannot.
totally
You cannot.
disagree with it. I mean, I've built systems that you could 100% put constraints on technology, and you could use it for specific purposes, and you could not use it for other specific purposes.
Well-
Like I said, like somebody that's on
Mhm.
parole, a flock camera on the border and a flock
Mhm.
camera in a city is absolutely no different if it tracks none of your data and it only tracks certain crimes for certain things. That's it. Doesn't put in
How-
people. I just told
How-
you 1,000 times. You
Hey,
have you
you can't-
literally put tracking things on people. They have to submit their biometric to it, and only
Mm.
they are tracked. That is it.
Where we running the facial IDs too? Where that means we're seeing everybody on camera and running their facial ID.
You're not running my facial ID. You are only running the people that have numbers. You are not running
Wait.
Americans' data.
So how
it's
does
not
the
hard.
illegal get the number when they cross over illegally?
Soon as you come over, your
Mm-hmm.
gate, your facial recognition is tracked. You are assigned in a number, and every time you ping, You're on parole. You are submitting your biometrics as part of your parole. And until you're off parole, you have a number over your head and your shit's being tracked. It's not hard. You're in jail. You're a number.
Okay, but what I mean, that's one thing when the government already you pass to government's filter. But what happens when you hop the fence illegally in the middle of El Paso in the desert somewhere?
There's a flock camera there that picks you up. If there's not, then you're screwed. You got away with it. Then you're good. What can I tell you? What are we doing? We're gonna grab everyone. I'm gonna go down the block to the pizzeria. What are you doing? You look like an illegal. Put your biometrics in there. No, I mean I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that once we know you're a registered sex offender, you get a number. You're going on to the flock system.
Those are two different conversations, John.
They're not.
We're talking the example I brought up.
You enter the border, you get picked up on the flock, your gate and your photo comes in there. Now, as the thing's coming in, you're flagged. You have a number. Boop, boop, boop. That number just popped. That's it.
Okay, so the camera picked you up on the border. You snapped your picture of your face. You have signed a number, right?
Yeah.
So now we're saying that there's a whole bunch of flock cameras leading from the border into every city. Every city, every town in the country has a flock camera now. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, isn't that what's happening?
Well, yeah, and I'm saying that's not good. Because if we're saying that not every city and every town is getting a flock camera, then at some point the flock cameras won't be there until at another point the flock cameras pick you up again, right? So that means that line of sight is broken at some point in the cameras.
Yeah, we don't need, again, I'm not trying to build a wall or roads of flock cameras. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, wherever they're used, why wouldn't we utilize them to actually have a competent law enforcement public safety approach instead of mass surveilling people for no reason?
Okay, so now you cross the border, flock camera picked you up, and now it lost you for 30 days, and it picked you up in Manhattan now, right? So how does it know that it's you from the border?
Because as it's filtering through, it's looking for those tags. It's looking for those things, right? It's gonna filter faces, but those things are all getting expunged. If they're all getting expunged, that's it. They don't stay.
That's my point. I'm glad you brought that up. How do they get expunged? And that's the part that I'm not connecting here, because how do they get expunged? Data gets stored. How does it get expunged? How does it disseminate to determine which ones get
does not get stored? It does not get stored. It's not hard.
It gets stored.
You run the data. The data does not get stored. There is no log kept of it. Same way there was no more 250 log. Same way there's no more electronic log. It's gone. There is no log unless you flag as one of these numbers. That's it.
It has to get stored. Otherwise, how is it determining that you're the guy who crossed the border?
Yeah,
because the only thing that's stored is that certain number. That is the only biometrics data that is stored. Is those people, the sex offenders, the parolees, and the people that crossed over the border illegally that were picked up that have those numbers. That is the only information that is actually stored.
Yeah, but what is it matching your face against? It lost you for 30 days.
It's matching you against the original, everything that's getting ran is only getting ran against those numbers that they have in the system. Who the people that had to submit their biometric data, either because they came in here illegally or because, and by the way, if any of you guys need help building this, I'll gladly help you build this. And those are the numbers that are stored. Those numbers are stored. All of the transmissions are coming in and they're being hit against those numbers. Boop, 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 boop. No.
But John, it's scanning an area, right? It's scanning an area to find those numbers, right? So it's scanning others as well. That's what I'm saying. So John walks by, Paula walks by, I walk by, we get scanned.
Yeah.
Do we not?
Yeah.
So to Marlon's point, it has to get stored, even if it's for a minute, to determine.
I'm saying that function of it is completely removed from the system. There is no storage of that. You absolutely can do that.
I don't know about that. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem to make sense because logic would say that it has to scan it, store it, make a determination, and then to disseminate it. So even if it's 30 seconds, it still gets stored.
For 30 seconds, and then it's gone.
So 30 seconds, but 30 seconds is okay. What makes it okay? Is 2 minutes okay? Is it 30 days okay?
It's better than forever.
But it still gets, and for during that time, it still could be used. No, it still can be manipulated.
If it was scanned for 30 seconds and you were ran against these individuals, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. I just don't.
Yeah,
Does that mean that I want to see a flock camera on every corner? Absolutely not. I don't. Like I said, I'm okay with just doing good old fashioned police work, but it's never going back. Like, technology is a part of life. We have to create systems that are constitutionally compliant with constraints on it in a manner that they won't be abused. So I think that the conversations are important, but I'm like, but saying like we need to get rid of all of them, not happening. I'm just being honest. It's not going to happen. Like,
no, I don't think we're saying get rid of them. We're saying, is create boundaries. The problem is, I think if we track all illegals, I understand it, is we have to track everyone else to find them, right? Because it's like, where's Waldo? We have to find Waldo. We have to find that illegal by scanning everyone else. So what you're saying is it's okay to have your search and seizure for 30 seconds, even if it's a minute. You're willing to give up that civil liberty for that time. It's a sacrifice, no? Is that what you're saying, or no? I'm just trying.
I mean, I'm saying you're getting scanned every single day. If they're keeping data on you, that is a search and a seizure. Are you being searched in that system? Yeah, you are. Technically, you are. 100% you are. Anybody in Manhattan today? Anybody low in Manhattan? This is all happening to you right now as we speak. The only difference is your data is being stored for much longer than what I'm saying. The data of you talking on your phone is being stored in a system right now. I'm saying that all of that needs to go away and not be stored.
Jamie Reagan says I'm echoing, but I hear it with you too. There's a little echo. I don't know what it is. Oh well. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Yeah.
All right, but
yeah.
I think look, I think we could just agree to disagree. We're running out of time here, dudes.
This one's gonna be a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
yeah. This conversation is gonna come up again.
This conversation a lot, dude, coming up a lot.
Yeah. Because here's the problem, right? The problem is that, like I said before, the Comcast, the Wi-Fi now tracking you in your home, and it's not just Comcast, guys. Every Wi-Fi, it has this ability, okay? Because the radio signals bounce off walls, and it's taking data about the things, objects moving in the three-dimensional space within, in the vicinity of that Wi-Fi. At the back end of all of this technology, right? At the back end is AI, and it's data aggregation, right? And it's getting all this data from all these tracking tools, and it's forming a bigger picture of society and everyone in society. So my point is simply that we can't allow it, period. Okay, that we can't plaster the entire cities with flock cameras and hope that it's going to be used for only good, because it won't. And all that data is going to be connected to your Wi-Fi data, your cell phone data, your car's data, where you've been, and made a pattern of life will be generated for all of us. Okay, that's my point here, and my point is that we can't trust government with that. We should pull the brakes on all these tracking tools. Yeah, we have red light cameras, we have traffic cameras, we have all these cameras now, but let's put a line there and slow it down before we head to that surveillance society, because that is what we are headed to.
So yeah.
Well, I think it's time for coffee and donuts.
I agree. Put constraints on it, audit it, put things in charge. I mean, like we got to slow it down at some point. I mean, to just like sucks, let's get rid of it. It's not happening. Like, we literally have to start thinking about this, not just even for this product, for anything that pops up in the future. There has to be uses for it and constraints on it, and there has to be things that are absolutely no goes. And what are they at this point? We don't have any of those boundaries. So I think, all right, let's get to the coffee and donuts. All right. It's told to you so back when. He says, you program Flock to store illegals only. Even if it scans you, it won't know who you are because it programs to find illegals. Thank you. It's told to you so back when. Thank you.
Impossible.
Thank you.
Code
Not
wise, you can't do
impossible.
it.
Not impossible. It's not impossible. It's not. Let's see who we got. Nolan. Uh-oh. When I was ordered to burn and shred IED's worksheets created by Joe Trimboli regarding Michael Dowd, I knew then we were fucked. The shit show is now much more. Interesting.
Very interesting, actually.
You should write a little blog on that, on Nolan. You should write something. You should write that down, bro.
No, thank you for the coffee and donuts. But that's actually a pretty interesting statement.
He says, any system you build, I can infiltrate. It just takes time. Oh, well, I'll agree with that. I agree that, you know, there's that storing data on people for no reason should not be there. And like I said, we're all being stored into these things, and we should have constraints there, not because we accepted terms of agreement that none of us read either. There should be certain things that you can't waive your right to. You know, it's unbelievable. So I don't know. John, that's borderline minority report 199. I don't know what he said. So you agree and disagree with me?
I told you so back when. Good stuff.
He says they have human rights, not constitutional. I agree. Totally agree. However, we do apply a lot of constitutional rights to illegals, especially the right to remain silent and right to due process and all of that. We do treat people humanely, but they don't. All constitutional protections are not allotted to just anybody. Not you didn't just enter here and be like, oh, I'm in a safe zone now. Can't do nothing. It's told to you so back when. Illegals don't have constitutional rights, just like they don't have a Second Amendment. Flock can do what people allow them to do. Speak up.
It's a great conversation. It really is.
Uncle Luke's. Are you aware of woman detective in Florida using Flock to stalk her husband's wife? Yeah, dude, there's literally doesn't just put Flock camera into X or wherever you search for news. You're going to see all of the misuses from police. Like I said, some of them people are in thousands of times, like real obsessive behavior. You know,
it's a hell of a PI tool. It's a hell of a PI tool. You know, if you're a private investigator, Flock must be an amazing tool.
Yeah. Uncle Luke's, he says, healthy debate and disagreements are good. True knowledge is gained through crucible of debate. However, the issue is debating with contrarians. I actually have to look that up. What's a contrarian, Marlon?
That's me. Basically, I am a natural contrarian. Whenever I see a group going along with something, I tend to I ask a lot of questions. I've said before, one of the reasons I never smoked weed, especially in like high school and all that, is because when I saw like a lot of people around me doing it, that's when I realized, nah, that's not for me. Same reason I never got a tattoo. I might have gotten a tattoo if it's fringe, but when everybody started getting a tattoo, I was like, nah, thanks.
I think we're all contrarians. I think we're all contrarians because contrarian to me is it forces people to look at the other side. To me, that's what a contrarian is, right? You have a position, and you're always saying, "Look, let's look at the opposing side." So I think that we're all contrarians because we're always looking at different angles. I would say, John, you're a contrarian, Marlon, and so is myself. I think so are our friends and listeners because we're always. If you only listening to one side, you're living in a vacuum. But I think we're all contrarians.
Yeah, on some things I am. On other things, I'm not. You know.
Not on this one. When it comes to legals, you're not a contrarian.
Back to the forefront, I will say that. You know, I wasn't a follower. You know, I was rocking Sergio Tacchini when it still wasn't cool. You know,
Marlon, I think we can agree that John's. You know, you and I are the contrarians when it comes to illegals. John's he's not a contrarian.
Yeah. No, you guys are progressives when it comes to illegals, and I like big booty Latinas just like the rest of you. All right, but you guys want to be selfish bastards. No.
me and Marlon would walk.
Yeah.
Marlon, me and you were gonna go in the walk room.
No,
I loved Alex Stein when he saved the big booty Latinas, like deport everybody else. That was one of my favorite ones.
That's the best.
That he did.
I agree with him.
Yeah. Save the big booty Latinas. They wanted to kill him. It was so funny. Nana P2P2H. Welcome. Never seen you before. He says, or he or she. I would say maybe she, since Nana. See, that's the problem with what you said. Every time government wants to violate the constitutional rights of citizens, they use a so-called excuse of for law enforcement purposes. Well, and I agree with you with that. And that's what I'm saying is like those purposes need to be defined, and it can't just be test and people given this unfettered access that nobody's looking, or no peak access, you know? And I think that's where we're you know, we're just not there yet. Like we're putting really dangerous technology in the hands of incompetent people that also have serious integrity issues and more than likely shouldn't be trusted to keep you safe. So, I mean, I think that's the overall problem.
Good point. Good point.
All right. I think that's it, people. 2 hours. Had about 300 people on here with us all morning. Appreciate you guys for joining us. Yeah, weigh in. Let us know what you think. Send any emails you want. We'll address them. Like I said, I think this is the first of many conversations about technology, especially as it relates to law enforcement, especially as it relates to your freedom versus your safety. So, yeah. So,
John, I think all the big booty Latinas should get a special number. We should be aware of who they are and their movements.
Do you want to flock all of them?
Flock all the big booties.
How about we only flock the big booties?
That's it. That's it. And not the BBLs, natural.
Yeah.
I'm flocking natural big booties over here.
We'd have to flock the BBLs that travel outside the country, though. And then we'd have to tag them, too, so we know. Like, oh, you weren't eating good there. That just didn't grow, you know?
No. Yeah.
Mama wasn't feeding you, and, you know, something happened over there, you know?
If you're an NYPD cop and you're going out 2 weeks sick, we know what you're doing.
They were plagued with Nositol, and then they come back with a basketball on both ends, cut it in half, put on two sides. You know the disease Nositol, no ass at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about all that, BB. I don't like when it doesn't match the legs. No, it looks like an upside down lollipop. Very strange. Very strange to me.
Yeah, it doesn't match the hips or the legs, dude. It doesn't.
Can we flock one more thing too? I'm sorry to any women that wear it. I don't know why. I hate it. The fake eyelashes. Please. I get the fake boobs.
I could deal with the fake eyelashes. Don't listen to Eric.
No, I don't like them.
Don't listen to Eric.
When's the last time you looked at a woman and you go, oh man, she's got really great eyelashes? Seriously?
Yeah, and probably never, but
yeah, I don't get it. Save your money. You want a fake booty, fake boobs? That's another discussion. But fake eyelashes? Come on.
I did a fake eyelash one time. Super annoying. I don't know how
anyone
ever did that.
You wore fake eyelashes?
I did one. I dressed up like the Clockwork Orange. I think it was like 99 Webster Hall.
Oh,
they almost gave. I almost won the whole thing for dressing up like the guys from the Clockwork Orange.
You drinking milk?
Yeah, I forget what I had with me. I had a cane, I think. I had that hat. I had the jock strap on, and I just wore the thing with the boots, like the under. It was a good costume. It was like people.
Clockwork
like, wow,
Orange is ahead of its time, man.
Sick. That's scary looking, you know.
Yeah,
here we
in
are.
many ways, Eric. Many ways.
Right? It really is.
Yeah.
If you actually watch Clockwork Orange, like wow, they really are ahead of their time.
Oh yeah. And that was supposed to be kids in the 2000s.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then they programmed him where he couldn't be violent or get anger again, like through medicine and all these shock treatments and stuff. And then all his perp friends became cops.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That's us.
Super funny. Yeah. Yeah, super funny.
Yeah.
All right.
Please keep natural eyelashes. I'm voting this year. I'm voting for natural eyelashes. I'm voting.
Yeah. I don't know. Just you guys disagree with me, so I just want to say flock you, and to everybody else who disagree with me on here, flock you too.
flock around, find out, right?
Yeah. All right, peoples. All right, you guys got anything before we run?
Jamie Reagan said, Marlon, change the subject, please, before John tells us how he used to like women.
I didn't see that. That's funny.
I
one
used
of
to
the
be
last
into
comments.
girls and pizza, and that's a good one,
Wow.
Jamie. I like that.
Well, listen, everybody, 2 hours and 5 minutes into it. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Our friends and listeners, we love the engagement. It's a good, healthy conversation, good debate. We should have those conversations. I think we're all contrarians. If you're willing to listen to other sides and challenge us, which side you're on. You're not living in a vacuum. So with that being said, if you're new to the channel, check us out Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. We're live at 8:05. And of course, tonight is the Executive Perspective. Check them out. What time, John? What time is the Executive Perspective?
5:05 p.m. Eastern time, baby.
Yep. All right, everybody, check us out. We appreciate it.
That's that, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Homework assignment. Dark Knight. Go watch The Dark Knight. Right? The end is my point right there. When Lucius talks to Batman. Right? Have a nice day. Stay safe and stay alert if you are on patrol. And we shall see you back here on Friday. Oh, well, we'll see you back here later on at 5:05 for the
Well, you got some
executive
housekeeping.
Yeah. No, I don't have the thumbnail that they have on today. I don't let me see. I don't exactly know what they're talking about today.
They posted it. They're gonna talk about Mondani downplaying
The incident on Ludlow Street.
Yeah, exactly. About downplaying the shooting.
Yep.
They're gonna be talking about that.
Oh,
I think Marlon's trash can is getting flocked.
Are you fucking kidding me? No.
All right. Flock you later.
Yeah.
All right.
The flocking unfiltered.
All right, peoples. Find us Unfiltered. We'll be back at you.
Hoorah.
We want to make sure that people can discern the truth from the misinformation. And we want to make sure that everyone understands that no one's safe till everyone's safe.
No one is 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 safe.
Nobody's safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe.
This is a post 9/11 axiom. Safer, but not yet safe.
No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe from COVID-19 until everyone is safe.
If the whole world isn't safe, none of us are safe.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
Nobody is safe
until we're all safe. Health experts have been saying nobody is safe.
Nobody is safe until everybody is safe.
Nobody is safe.
Science is clear.
None of us are safe.
There is no safety.
No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe. No one is safe until everyone is safe.
No one's safe.
Nobody is safe. Nobody's safe.
No one's safe.
We'll never be safe
until we're all safe.
We are never going to be safe.
99.5% of people are safe and will survive COVID-19.
The only positive thing out of this is we should be able to manufacture a lot of vaccines, and
nobody will be safe if not everybody is vaccinated.
you don't have a choice.
As long as not everybody is vaccinated, nobody will be safe.
Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. So
Get the fucking vaccine.
You need to get vaccinated, and if you don't, you are going to die.
I know you're vaccinated. You're the smart ones, but you know there's people out there who aren't listening to God and what God wants. You know who they are.
The unvaccinated people.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this.
If you are the unvaccinated, you are the problem.
You're the problem.
Condemn them, shame them, blame them.
The only people that you can blame are the unvaccinated.
Frankly, we can't trust the unvaccinated.
They should not be part of polite society.
The lunatics who won't take COVID vaccines walking around lawfully unvaccinated? That's psychotic.
If you're willing to walk among us unvaccinated, you are an enemy.
you have no right not to be vaccinated.
You don't have the right to contaminate someone
You
else.
can't go around pointing a gun in somebody's face, which is what it is when people are unvaccinated.
They are all idiots and losers.
This is a real movement in this country against the unvaccinated.
Jennifer Aniston is cutting non-vaccinated people out of her life.
Unrepentant,
They
unvaccinated.
should be removed from the hospital.
Those who refuse to be vaccinated should be denied health care.
Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy, rest in peace, Wheezy. You're
Some doctors are saying they'll refuse treatment for people who choose not to get the shot.
Why are hospital and ICU resources going to them?
Morons who will not get the shot.
The unvaccinated clowns.
Idiots who think that they can do their own research.
Don't do any of your own research.
Doing your own research is associated with conspiracy theory circles. This go-it-alone approach, doing your own research, that can have serious consequences. You should get prison time for even questioning the vaccines.
Can we all stop saying, I need to do my own research?
That phrase, do your own research, 4 words, 4 little words that are hurting America. Doing your own research hurts America. Everybody has a supercomputer in their hand that empowers them to do their own research, and that's the problem. You must not do your own research.
I need to do my own research.
I don't understand what that means. I'm doing my own research.
You can't do your own research unless you're a scientist. Do your own research.
Maybe you've told yourself you're playing it safe. You just want to wait and see since this is a new vaccine. No.
Grow the up and get the vaccine.
Unvaccinated people spread the virus.
Get the vaccine, you dopes.
Don't be a
Get yourself vaccinated. That's just all there is to it.
There's no excuse.
No excuse for being unvaccinated.
There's no rational and no emotional argument that adds up against getting your damn shot. There just isn't.
But you made a conscious decision not to get the vaccine.
I also have natural immunity. So for me, personally, this vaccine poses a greater risk than a benefit. I'm also not a risk to any of you. Let's look at the science.
So we see that the natural infection is given greater protection or slightly greater protection than vaccination.
This is a vaccine that was created to prevent severity of disease and to prevent hospitalizations. But the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID and does not prevent you from transmitting COVID.
Oh my goodness.
Reality.
No,
we have
that's
seen that.
not so. Come on.
No,
You've been at Fox TV
you
too
don't have
long.
to joy.
I just really don't think that we should allow this kind of misinformation.
Get the vaccine so that you don't get COVID-19. We poke ya while we poke ya, so you don't get corona.
When we poke ya, well, we know you're gonna be safe from COVID infecting you.
The virus stops with every vaccinated person.
Do it so you stop spreading terrible disease.
And that vaccine, a key goal is to stop the transmission so that you get almost no infection going on whatsoever.
Expectation for vaccines is not to get infected.
A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them.
When the virus gets to you, you stop it.
You're not going to catch it. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to transmit it.
The vaccine is absolutely bulletproof.
Vaccines block you from getting and giving the virus.
100% effective at preventing COVID.
The vaccine prevents you from getting infected.
It is to keep you from getting it and then spreading it.
We have the ability to stop COVID in its tracks.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Biden tests positive for COVID-19.
When people are vaccinated, they can feel safe that they are not going to get infected.
Dr. Fauci tests positive for COVID-19.
Vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
CDC director tests positive for COVID-19.
Get your vaccine.
Pfizer CEO tests positive for COVID. Pfizer CEO tests positive for COVID again. CDC director tests positive for COVID again. Fauci tests positive for COVID again. Joe Biden tests positive for COVID again.
Cases up 258%. The majority of these cases are among the vaccinated. And this area is the most vaccinated part of Massachusetts.
So many fully vaccinated people are testing positive.
So people here are a bit angry.
We are all really concerned about what this means long term.
I was vaccinated and I got COVID, and almost everyone we know with vaccinations had at least one bout of it.
Our vaccines work better than we could have possibly hoped they would work.
We are not the problem. The problem are the unvaccinated.
The unvaccinated threat.
Unvaccinated people are a threat, a direct threat.
The threat to all of us.
The unvaccinated are a risk to all of us.
People have a right to be protected from the unvaccinated.
Maybe there should be laws that allow them to be kept out of the building.
So at least, thankfully, they're not breathing the same air. Their freedom to breathe will diminish. Start firing the unvaccinated.
If you don't vaccinate, you'll be fired.
Time to come down.
on the unvaccinated.
They should be banned from the VA, banned from restaurants, banned from other businesses and colleges.
Companies should not treat us as equals.
Place unvaccinated people under arrest.
It's the unvaccinated that has put America in the place that it is.
We are losing freedom because people are unvaccinated.
Anger towards the unvaccinated. I'm furious at the unvaccinated.
Frustrated with Americans still not vaccinated.
Not to be vaccinated seems criminal.
Suspects face years behind bars for coughing on police officers.
Their freedom.
For them charged with terrorist threats.
You have no individual rights when it comes to the vaccine.
Really, you're killing other people.
We're being attacked by unvaccinated.
The unvaccinated who aren't wearing masks. It's the unvaccinated who aren't social distancing. It's the unvaccinated going to crowded indoor events.
It is not your right as an American citizen to catch and transmit a potentially fatal infection.
So screw your freedom. We can coerce you.
You're not going to be able to travel to see your family. If someone in your family isn't vaccinated, should you ask them not to show up?
Yes, you really shouldn't have anyone unvaccinated come to dinner. That's just a huge risk.
If you want to come out into public, if you want to live your life, you need to get the vaccination.
It's time for people to see vaccination as literally necessary.
You should have to show that you're vaccinated in order to go places.
Unvaccinated tennis player can't travel to the U.S.
If you're not vaccinated, you're not welcome.
Our patience is wearing thin.
Why hasn't the president focused more on scolding the unvaccinated?
The refusal has cost all of us.
Continued damage the unvaccinated are doing to themselves and the country.
How come migrants are allowed to come into this country unvaccinated, but world-class tennis players are not?
You know,
And back to our lead story, the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Fact is, this is a
pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Experts call it
pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Still a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The disease of the unvaccinated.
It is the unvaccinated who are the problem. Period. End of story.
The unvaccinated also put our economy at risk.
This is a tyranny of the unvaccinated right now.
The unvaccinated, not the vaccinated, the unvaccinated. That's the problem. That's the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Pandemic of the unvaccinated. All this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated. Pandemic because of the unvaccinated.
when you get the vaccine, you will not die.
That's right. That's right.
It's a simple, basic proposition. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to die. If you're vaccinated, you don't have a risk. It's as simple as black and white.
You are not going to die if you are vaccinated. That's it, full stop.
You're unvaccinated, you're at risk. You're vaccinated, you're safe.
A majority of Americans dying from coronavirus are vaccinated. COVID-19 isn't a pandemic of the unvaccinated anymore.
We didn't really understand the fatality rate. We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu is, although a bit different.
We have two Americans.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?